Wanted to show I have an updated drone here for long duration and long distance flying, and it weighs 44 grams, so it's a pretty lightweight drone. So this is the TBS X-Racer, but it's modified with the Telo motors and the Telo props, because you get significantly more thrust with the Telo props and much better efficiency, which shows up in the longer flight time. So I can get 5-minute flight time with the stock battery, and that's not hover, that's flying around. And I can get 8-minute flight time with the Telo battery, which is modified by removing the PCM, the control module. And this is a 1200 milliamp hour versus a 600. And the weight is not that much different. So doubling the battery size is only gaining 40% more weight on the battery. And the higher you can get your battery weight to your aircraft weight, that's when your flight times go up. So I wanted to show some of the modifications I did here. The camera, you have to cut off the bottom and push the camera down so that it clears the blades. See the blades right there. Of course, you got to swap out the motors. Now I put the F3 flight controller because I wanted to get some screen telemetry, and that one is the AIOF3 F3 with OSD, but the F1 is fine if you don't want to change that out. And then I used the shoe glue, or the Weld 2000 glue, holds everything. Even changing the flight controller, I have to weld in the corners. That glue is awesome on drones. You can even see here on the antenna, I strain relief it right there with that Weld 2000 glue. Makes a nice strong rubber cement. It's actually pretty lightweight. A lot of the solvent evaporates, and then you got to glue down the camera on the top. Now the wiring, since I changed the flight controller, I'm actually powering the camera off of the 5-volt in the flight controller, and that powers the transmitter and the camera. Now this transmitter can do up to 800 milliwatts. I'm running it at 25 milliwatts because I'm a little concerned about range at 200 milliwatts of my transmitter interfering with my receiver, which I glued right here. And for my setup, I'm actually running my antennas to my roof, and I'm getting 600 milliwatt output on my transmit, and then I have a clear view, which again is on my roof. I'll show you, I'll fly up there and show you that. So basically I get unobstructed line of sight for my uplink and my downlink. And this video is not pushing out the range test, I'm more just showing the aircraft. I'm hoping to get a mile range. Since I have a long enough flight time, I should be able to do a mile. So I'm going to put in the small battery. I'm going to do a 4-minute flight, and let's check it out. So on top of my place, I have just a standard linear antenna setup, which I think I have another video on that. So the black bucket has the clear view with the dual antennas, and then my transmit uplink is just a small, it's right over here, the little black thing on the other end of the roof. Right there is my transmit antenna. So let's check out what our thrust is like. This is the 600 milliamp battery. So let's punch it up. I killed it. Great. Well, full throttle punch out, even on a relatively full battery, resets the flight controller because this can't deliver enough current. I have the thick wire on there, and I really have to use the 1200, but I'll try the punch out on the 1200. Now, one thing that's annoying is that there's not enough rubber cushion to prevent damaging these motors. So I lost 2 motors here where basically the rotor rammed down and cracks the bottom. So I need to swap out 2 of those motors, and I might end up eventually just gluing these on, because if they're glued on rather than pushed in, you give a lot more cushion if you crash on the cement. But you do need the cooling hole for the air, because that motor does have a couple holes in the bottom there, as you can see right there. I have to get these motors from China. It takes a couple weeks, but I have enough spares. I can get this thing repaired, and then I'm going to do the next punch out test over grass. It was pretty easy to swap out the motors, and then I'll add some glue here, and I'm going to leave these TBS rubbers off because they don't really do anything on the cement. But I'm going to glue them just like so, rather than inserting them into the hole, because this is the second time I've basically landed on cement and took out a motor. So I'm going to glue it so I got a lot more cushion. And if you notice the DJI Telo, its rubber is also really thick underneath the motors for that same reason. So here's on my setup. Got my camera focused better. So my receive antenna is right there. It's in that black bucket. And I have another video, more detail on that setup. A clear view with a couple just regular straight dipole or monopole antennas. And then I got 600 milliwatt on my 2.4 gig right there on the little black antenna. So let's go out, fly around here. So let's check our punch out. The bigger battery is not gonna die like the other one, but I'm over grass this time. So there's full throttle. Notice my voltage still stays pretty good. It went down a little bit. So plenty of power. Those Telo motors, they have more power than the motors that come with this thing. So we range out here. Now I'm only 25 milliwatts on the video. Before I bump up the power on that, I want to get some more range check stuff done. And I might end up bumping up my transmit power on my 2.4 gig. I wanted to have 2 watts, but it only measures 600 milliwatts. So I'm over grass this time. Right around here. Now Clearview gets really nasty when you get to the edge of your receive limit. So I need to make sure I'm up high enough so I'm not being blocked. So that was basically out to about 1,200 feet there, maybe about 400 yards. Clearview stays nice and sharp. The 25 milliwatt. Now I got a 7-minute flight time with a 1-minute reserve, so I can fly for quite a while. Actually, I'm gonna come up through the woods. So as long as I stay above the buildings, above the trees, not a problem. And then I'm right there in the middle of the screen. So I can fly over to this side here. Like I said, I don't want to range check on this video. Just show y'all a long flight time. Get back in my little cul-de-sac. Now here's an interesting thing. If I drop down and get the building in between, come around this way, you can see the video will drop off quite a bit. Right there, see that? So I got to get up over the building. And that was just basically going across the parking lot, but one building just pinching off the video. Now 5.8 gig is attenuated quite a bit more than 2.4. So as long as I stay high, no problem. Now this is the F3 flight controller, but it comes with the F1. So go back down here again. The F1 flies the same. I'll post all my PID settings, but it's pretty easy setting up. There is a thing you definitely want to turn off, which is the automatic runaway detect, and you got to use a CLI command to turn that off. That's all I want to go to right now. If runaway detect was just like being really annoying and making this thing disarm on me. I'm gonna fight a little headwind here. I'm glad I finally got a micro with some decent flight time. The Telo, they're doing a couple things. Those motors they don't seem to be the same as your regular 8.5 millimeter, because when I tried it on the stock motors that came with the TBS X-Racer, they were definitely not handling those large props, couldn't swing them right, and the motors seemed to be burning up. These motors ran considerably cooler. Now they still get hot, but that's your efficiency right there. How much heat you're putting in your motors is how efficient they are. So these Telo motors are expensive. I'm finding them like $7 each. Not exactly cheap. But there's something with it, and you can tell they have the 4 cooling holes rather than the 2. All the other motors either have 2 cooling holes or no cooling holes. So the 4s definitely tells you got an authentic motor. And of course if it's packaged, it's authentic. Now the blades are way out of balance. When I got Telo blades that are supposed to be Telo blades, I mean, I was shaving those suckers off a lot. And I have a video on how to balance these little micro blades. And the blades are actually so bad, the camera is just shaking. The shake I got now is just wind, and my PIDs aren't super great yet. So when I get it tuned a little better, it'll be a little more stable, not shake as much. So I'm at 3.1. It's almost time to bring it in. Once I hit 3 volts, it starts dropping off pretty fast. That's the one thing I like with the F3, I can see my voltage. Let's bring it in and land in the back here. Of course I'm flying angle mode. I hope you like watching the video. Thanks for watching.